In this tutorial, I will go through on how to model a building with a podium base and adding some minor details onto the facade. The building will consist of columns on the ground level, the podium, and the building that is on top of the podium. Firstly, create a flat plane. Then, create a rectangle spline of the same size under the Shapes of the Create tab. Turn on Snap Settings and click on Endpoint and Midpoint. You can use the S key shortcut to turn on and off snapping. Clone the plane and label it as Column. Go to the Modifier tab and then press F4 to turn on the edges. Adjust the number of segments. The higher the segments, the more columns will be produced. Insert the Edit Poly function from the modifier list. Turn off the original plane. Under the selection property of the Edit Poly function, pick Select Object and select on the plane before reverting to Select Faces. This is a quick way to select all faces without individually selecting each face. Scroll down to find Bevel. Click on the icon right next to Bevel text and a window should pop up. Ensure the effect applies to all polygon faces. Decrease the distance of the outline for the outline to move towards the middle of the polygon. Then press Ctrl I to invert selection. Under the modifier list, select Delete Mesh and the faces selected will then be deleted. Bring Edit Poly and again select the faces for extrusion. Click the icon next to the extrude text and extrude to about ceiling height. The columns are now done. Next, the podium will be created. Turn on the hidden rectangle spline and clone it as an instance of the spline by using View Normalize Spline. Click on a blank space and then click on the rectangle spline to make a copy of it. Move the original spline away from the column. Align the newly made spline with the Align selection tool from the toolbar. Make sure the alignment of the spline's X and Y position matches the X and Y positions of the columns first. Make sure both X and Y centers matches and that it is aligned to the local X and Y axis. Make a copy of the original spline, which will be used in later steps, and name the spline to edit as Podium. Then proceed to align the spline's Z-axis onto the top of the column. Press T to enter top view and adjust the viewport so that you can see the original and the View Normalize spline side by side. Insert Edit Spline function from the modifier list. Under the selection, select Vertices and scroll down to find Insert. To insert vertices, double-click or click around the spline to insert the vertices. Press on W to move the selected vertices. You'll begin to see that some columns are not under the boundary of the spline. To delete them, under the modifier list, insert the Edit Poly function. Make sure your selection is the object mode and select the columns that you wish to remove. Press the delete button and they will be erased. Columns that are within the boundary of the podium will then be left. Next, the podium spline will be extruded. Find the extrude function from the modifier list, increase the amount to be extruded, and adjust the segments to however you like. Go back to View Normalize Spline and adjust the segments as well. Insert the Edit Poly function from the modifier list. Ensure that face selection is on or press 4. Scroll down to find the Material ID property and change the Select ID number to 3 so that it will only select the facade of the podium. Scroll up to find Bevel and ensure that only polygons are adjusted and that the outline is moving inwards. Find the Face Extrude function from the modifier list and decrease the extrusion value to push the facade back to create windows. The podium is now complete. Turn on the hidden base spline and clone it. Name it as Building. Align the building spline to the top of the podium. Set the minimum Z position of the building spline to match with the maximum Z position of the podium. Make sure that the align orientation is turned off. Press F3 for wireframe view and see that the spline has been lifted off the ground and is at the top of the podium. Select Spline Offset from the modifier list and adjust the distance of the spline. Ensure that the building spline is still selected. Select the extrude function from the modifier list and you can see that the extrusion is in the wrong place. Go back to the spline offset and scroll down to turn off the original spline and it should extrude normally. Adjust the segments in the extrusion. Find the Edit Poly from the modifier list. Make sure faces are selected and scroll down to Material ID. Type 3 before selecting on Selecting ID so that only the facades are selected. Scroll up to Bevel and adjust the outline of the polygons. Find Face Extrude from the modifier list and extrude backwards to create windows. The building should now be finished. Thanks for watching.